Hi everyone, and welcome to Rita's Studio. Today I'm working on a reverse applique project, which was invented by the Kuna Indians of Panama and Colombia. And it's a really colorful way of working where you typically would have applique work sitting on the surface of your fabric here. Instead, what you're doing is you're cutting down through layers of fabric, and the more colorful the better. So I've already done some of the work on this to save a little bit of time on the video, but what you see me doing here is taking the scissor and carefully cutting down to the yellow layer, which is the next one down. And I'm introducing the thread here, and then I start using the needle to push the fabric back and start taking a couple of stitches to hold it down. Definitely want to get it tucked into the corners. They are typically using contrasting color threads. Usually the more colorful the better. And when they invented this technique, they would apply this kind of applique work to clothing usually, but it could be applied to bags or whatever, anything that they wanted to. Okay, this is called needle turning, when you're using the needle to push the edge of the fabric in and down. When you come down into the corners, you do have to be careful to add some reinforcing stitches right into the corner there to make sure that your fabric is not gonna be in danger of any kind of fraying. So you'll typically will take 2 or 3 stitches right into the corner there. I'm trying to keep the work as close to the camera as possible so you can see it. Okay, there you can see the needle turning a little bit more clearly, and very tiny stitches are needed. Okay, so I've come down to the corner and getting ready to finish this one off. Another stitch into the corner and down to the back. Just finishing off with a double knot. So now I'm getting ready to cut down to the orange layer, which is the final layer. You do have to be really careful when you're first starting the cut to make sure, and you'll notice my finger is down underneath there. I'm feeling to make sure that I'm not cutting through the orange. Just revealing some of the orange coming through. And now I can begin sewing. You can see that this edge is a very tiny one, so you do have to be a little bit careful. And if I recall, this one was a little fidgety getting started because it is so small. I would definitely recommend that if you're going to give this a try, don't work quite so small to begin with. Go for larger shapes until you get the hang of this, till you get used to it. So using a nice contrasting thread here, which is the black again, really shows against the yellow. Okay, so coming around, securing the corners again. Really had to push that one in. Again, it's just because it's so tiny that it was that one was a little bit more challenging, but I got it in. I just have to be a little bit more careful there. Okay, so once this is finished off, it's time to move on to that fake eye. And as I indicated, the real eye has the middle of the eye, which is orange, is actually the most recessed part. Now I'm going to do the exact opposite. I'm going to make the green the topmost layer of the eye, and so I'm going to carefully begin the cut. Very carefully begin the cut, but I'm not going to cut all the way around the green. I'm going to just cut about halfway down. If I were to cut all of the green around, the whole thing would pop off. So I don't want that. I want to make sure that the green is still secured. And I'm going to begin by stitching, but I will only stitch halfway around the circle. Once I've done that, then I can cut off the rest. Then I can cut around the rest, I should say. So just inserting the needle. And here I'm using an orange thread against the green. Start to do the needle turning. And this is really tiny here, and it would be better if my hand wasn't in the way. I apologize for that, but so you could actually see what I'm doing. Doing the needle turning. I realize you can't really see it very well, but you will see it better in a second. Securing the edge, turning under with the needle, grabbing the edge and putting a stitch in real quick, and that will hold it in place. So you can see that this is starting to reveal the yellow, and now I'm carefully cutting around the rest of the green because the other half is now secure, right? So this is the exact opposite of how the other one was done. And now I can take the needle and continue going all the way around the green, and you'll see the completed thing in just a second or so. Okay, and that green is almost finished. Another stitch or two and it'll be done. And then I'll be ready to tie it off on the back. Okay, so beginning the work on turning under the raw edge of the green here, going around the fake eye. Sometimes fish have these fake eyes to fool predators, and it confuses them for just a half second until they can figure out which side of the fish they're looking at, but that's all the amount of time that the fish needs to get away. So it does work. And here I'm adding a little bit more of that decorative stitching. It's just a regular stitch, running stitch. Probably the easiest stitch in the world to do. Okay, so now I'm gonna start work on, and here you can really see the difference between the elevated green one and the sunken orange one. So now I'm getting ready to cut away some of the fin, and in this case I'm gonna cut down the green going down to the orange, but once I remove the green, I am going to continue cutting to remove the yellow as well. So what I want to do is I want to make the fin orange. So I'm cutting away the green and the yellow. So now I will carefully cut down through to the orange, and I'm feeling with my finger here to make sure that I'm not accidentally cutting the orange too. Sharp pair of scissors, of course, here. Okay, and make sure I cut into the corner, and there's the orange. The other fin will be handled in the same way. Just cutting into a little bit to give myself some access when I'm turning down, and just using a black thread for some contrast here, and using my needle turning again, get this edge under. I know that at one point I reached under and cut away a little bit more of the yellow from underneath in order to reduce the bulk a little bit. I wanted to make sure that this didn't wind up too thick in places. Okay, so coming around the other side, again, my hand is in the way, but hopefully you can see a little bit of this. Okay, so that one is done, and now I've gone ahead and finished off the other one. So this has all been examples of reverse applique. And now I'm getting ready to do the tail, and just to be contrarian, I decided I think I'm just going to do some plain old regular applique here, which means adding to the surface of your fabric. So now I've chosen a couple of pieces of batik, and these are going to be for the tail. I'm going to pin it in place, but I'm going to pin from the back, so that my thread does not keep getting caught on, and you can see I've done that with safety pins as well. I put them on the back so that my thread does not sweep across and grab it. Okay, and I'm going to bend down, I'm going to finger press the tips of both sides of this tail. As you can see, and if you watch carefully, you'll see how I'm going to create a new point from these two flattened edges. So I finger press what is going to be later is going to be a new point. Right there. I'm going to insert a needle from underneath, and that where the needle is coming up, that's going to be the new point. And here again, I've changed to a contrasting thread, so I'm using turquoise now. And I'm going to continue all the way around this, finger pressing as I go to create the shape. Okay, so now I'm coming up to the other end of this shape, and you remember I bent down, I folded down to make it flat, and now I'm making a new, this is going to be a new point on this side. And actually I'm going to be refining that point to make it an even sharper point. But first I'm securing this edge. And where that needle is coming up right now, that's the new point. Double stitch there to reinforce it. And now I can use my finger to finger press right up to that edge to refine it, make the point even sharper, like that. Okay. Okay, so bringing that down to the end, and I'll be ready to tie that off in just a second. Couple of reinforcing stitches there. And then I decided to add a little bit more decorative stitching, but in this case I decided to do some chain stitching, a chain stitch on the tail. And chain stitching is you're creating like a circle shape, and then you're bringing the needle up through the middle of the circle. The trick to doing a good chain stitch is not to pull too tight. If you don't give the thread a little laxity, it's going to pull, it's going to be too taut, and it's going to create a bit of puckering in your fabric. So better to err on the side of a little bit of looseness in the stitch should do the trick. Okay, you have to reinforce the ends before you change direction. And yes, it would absolutely help if the thread was in the needle. Yes. So here I had to rethread and continue on. And I think that top chain stitching just gave it a little bit more interest. So now you could see that both tail pieces are finished. And I'll be ready to start cutting out the fish. I'm cutting away a bit of the green, but I'm leaving the yellow showing. The orange will not show on the background. Always checking to make sure that I'm not accidentally cutting the wrong thing. After all that work. So and I would say that I'm leaving somewhere between 1/4 of an inch to 1/2 inch going around. So just carefully going around. There are places where you later will have to do a little snip to be able to get to the undercuts. Okay, almost all the way around. Here I'm gonna get ready to begin stitching. I do have to make a little snip to be able to bend that little fold of fabric in a wee bit. And finger pressing in. Needle is ready. Continuing to tuck in there. Okay, there is the completed fish. And in the next frame, you'll see it on a t-shirt with some bias binding pinned in place. And to make it a little bit more decorative. And here is the finished product. This is the t-shirt with the completed fish on it. So thank you for joining me, and if you liked my video, please like, share, and subscribe. I do appreciate it. Till next time.